Test, test. Great. Test, test, test. Okay. Do what? No. It is? So it's interesting, maybe because there were some American boys, so she was preaching, I'm over there, and we're in here, you can't hear that lyrics. That weird feedback through the metallic thing. So I was like making adjustments, and I was like, I mean, this sounds like, what did you take away? And I'll be right back, I'll see this, like, this is still what thanks.
You are so organized. Oops, sorry.
I said something nice, and now you are such a...
We're staying up.
We have a lot of people like, I'm going to whistle.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Calvary Episcopal Church's 2025 annual meeting. How are those refreshments? Excellent. I want to give our thanks to Jamie McDonald. She is like a one-person team that does all this, and she does a great job. So as we begin, we're going to go ahead and start with this opening prayer. And let's say it together. The Lord be with you. Let us pray together. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with us who take counsel at the Calvary's annual meeting for the renewal and mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. So all that we do, every single thing is born out of the next two things we're going to review together. The first is our mission statement. This is too long for us all to memorize, but there's a line at the end that I think most of us carry with us everywhere we go. Let us be reminded of our mission statement and who God is calling us to be by reading it together. Anchored by our timeless faith and worship, Calvary Episcopal Church serves downtown Bastrop and beyond as the hands and feet of Jesus, building bridges that bring people together and offering everyone a place to call home. So this is part of what we do. Then there's the other question of how we do it. These are our core values, which if you had a chance to look at our annual report prepared by Diana Small, our communication manager, she did an amazing job correlating all the data into, and all your reports into our core values in a really creative and visually appealing way. And so what holds us together right in the center is, and then we have creativity and tradition. And sometimes those are in tension with each other, but it's love that holds us together. And at the top and the bottom, we have worship and service. And sometimes those can be a bit in tension, and love holds us together. So after we as a parish did the work of discerning that we are a place to call home and our mission statement and our values, the vestry and I developed what we called the Vision 2025. And so it's hard to believe, but it's already 2025, so we're going to do an update on where we are with this vision. The first pillar, there's 4 pillars in this vision, is that we serve using our gifts. The goal, and we set this in late 2022, was to develop a systematic way of assessing spiritual gifts and training 50 new ministry leaders to avoid burnout and maximize the number of members in ministry. The result, since that time, we have launched 69 new ministry leaders. 183 of you have completed our skills and interest worksheet, which is one of the ways we help you discern. And we currently have 9 ministries led by co-leaders. Jesus sent folks out 2 by 2. We think that's a pretty great model to follow when we can. So we will continue doing this work, but in terms of this pillar, the vestry and I think we can put a big check mark on this. Well, we've accomplished what we set out to do 3 years ago with your generosity and willingness to serve. The second pillar, we are always experimenting. We talk a lot about holy experiments. Our goal 3 years ago was to evaluate, discern, and resource 2 to 3 holy experiments. The sustainable holy experiments we've done include concerts at Calvary. We received a $30,000 diocesan grant to ensure that can continue. Cocoa and Carols, Mardi Gras, which we did just yesterday and had 400 folks in our parish hall. The Little Free Library, Art Fest, the Warming Shelter, prayer stations at the 9 a.m. service, bell ringing and candy on Halloween, Shadow and Light on Good Friday, and more and more. And this has become a part of our ethos. That we just always are experimenting and learning what we can. So I think on this pillar, we can also put a big check mark. Doesn't mean we're not ever going to experiment again, but it means in terms of our overall vision, we can begin to focus on some other things. The third pillar, we want to make people feel safe and communicate in ways that bring people together. The goal is to encourage loving communication and develop a safety plan at all levels. It's kind of hard to quantify the encouraging, loving communication part. I know one of the ways that happens is if somebody reaches out to me with like a text or an email about something that could be kind of a difficult, challenging issue. Our whole staff is just trained. If somebody does that, we reach out with a phone call, right? We don't do difficult conversations at a keyboard or at our phones, because that doesn't usually lead us to be our best selves, right? But in terms of our safety plan, the reality is we saved someone's life about 6 months after we installed the AED. You remember Cole Joden, our youth minister, who had a cardiac event here, and the doctor said had she not had the AED and the nurses here that responded, she would have stepped into paradise, likely right here in this room. So that's in terms of safety planning. Doesn't get much better than that. You've also seen the progress we've made. We've installed Ring camera doorbells, both the parish hall and here. We've developed and implemented a safety plan as well, which we've emailed and communicated about over time, and we continue to build on that. Again, we can never be safe enough. We can never think about how we communicate enough, but in terms of what we set out to accomplish, this is a check mark for us. The final last pillar is we are building a bright future. The goal was to complete a ministry-based master plan with an architect by the end of 2025. The results, we've identified 2 models that we're kind of trying to get to work together. Human-centered design, which is where we don't start with a building, but we start with people and their needs. And mission real estate development, which is a process kind of pioneered by our friends at Trinity Episcopal Church on Wall Street. How can, as churches, after we gather the data about what we need from our people and what the people in our community need, how can we build buildings that serve the wider community so they have a missional aspect, but also help us with financial sustainability? And the vestry is exploring ways to do that. Through the human-centered design process, we received feedback from 163 internal and external stakeholders. And last week, the vestry did some work at a retreat, kind of working through some of that data. That's the 4th pillar. This one we've made great progress on. This will continue in Vision 2030, which we're going to introduce at a high level here in just a little while, because the school is going to move. Classes will start at our new campus in January 2026, less than a year from now, and we will inherit what I like to call the legacy facilities. And what that means is that when those buildings are occupied by 100 students and staff, they still are visited by raccoons, and sometimes there's fleas that come. And so we have to have the vestry and the church has to have a short-term plan for how we care for and steward those buildings, and a mid-term plan with what do we do with this whole campus strategically to continue our mission. That's the 4th pillar. We made a lot of great progress. We can put a check mark. There's still more to do. So this is what we set out to accomplish. What has our impact been, especially in the last year? One of the most powerful things to me, on Sundays, we have an average attendance of 219 people, it says on the 3rd star. But those 219 people, there's about 350 people in the Calvary universe, served 3,962 people at 17 different events. And half of those attendees were new to Calvary. That means for every person kind of connected with Calvary, they impacted 10 people with God's love. That's really powerful. That's punching above the belt. I think we can give thanks for that. So we saw that yesterday with Mardi Gras, 400 folks, and I'd say 80% of those people were new to Calvary, right? That's just how it works, but it builds our reputation, helps people get comfortable in church spaces and realize, churches can be a lot of fun. But our ministry is not just to the wider community, it's also to us in the gathered community. So we have a team of lay pastoral assistants and clergy. We made over 100 visits to homebound or sick parishioners this year. That's an average of about 2 a week. Some of those folks join us online, and it's a way to keep that connection and bring them communion. Our ASA increased from, and this is in person and online, from 202 to 219. That's an 8% increase. Not as steep as the growth has been in previous years, but I think this was a good year to catch our breath. And also, anytime you get close to 10% growth year over year, that's a really good thing. 41% of guests who gave us a Connect card in 2024 now call Calvary home. That's a really good kind of conversion rate, and that speaks to the warmth and hospitality of this community and how compelling our worship is. And then in addition, we sent 5 crates of school supplies to Holy Cross Anglican School in Belize. We launched the warming shelter. There's so much. And to really see it all, please go and visit the annual report that we sent out earlier this week. Part of why we sent school supplies to Belize was last year's theme was Eat, Play, Love. And our family got to embody that in ways that we will remember as long as we are breathing. And you all got to experience that in some really special ways as well. I'm thinking about the play day that we did where we had facilitated improv leaders and the retreat that took place out at Cola Vista, Serve Sunday. There were just so many great things that happened. And of course, none of that would have been possible without Mother Amy and Mary Robson, who led the helm while we were out and about. All right, so that grounds us a bit in what's been happening. I'd like to invite Mother Amy up to share her report.
I know. Oh, good. That's right. I mean, I did it on Thursday, and then I write a sermon, so I don't really remember. Let's see. Good morning. It's still good morning. Yes. So let's see. A few highlights from the year. The first was my ordination to the priesthood, which was almost a year ago, February 24th. It will be a year, and that was one of the best days of my life. Super, super spectacular, coming true of my lifelong dream. And it was so much fun. What a great day we had. And it was, I think that my face on that picture says it all. Another highlight was the day that I got to baptize 6 people all in one service, which was holy chaos, right? It was wonderful. All children, babies, younger children, and a couple of sort of preteens. So that was also just a super great highlight. I think I've only baptized 7 people, so 6 were that day. And and then the other highlight is, of course, everything that I learned during Father Matt's sabbatical and getting to practice being at the helm very recently after being ordained into the priesthood. We've told this story before, but I think it's worth repeating. When I came to interview here, before the bishop assigned me, Matt said, "And what are you hoping to learn in your time here as our curate?" And I boldly said, "I'd like to learn how to be a rector." And he laughed and said, "Have I got a deal for you?" One of the things I want to tell you that I learned is that I actually sort of enjoy the financial and budgeting process. This has never been anything in my life I am not good with money most of the time. I majored in religion and psychology. All of my degrees are in those 2 fields. But I learned that the things that you are scared of, if you lean into, you might find delight you. And so that was a real gift. You all were amazing to serve alongside during those 4 months. And Mary and I could not have gotten through it without the particular charisma of this group. And so it really was such an honor. Also, I was super glad when you came back. So also there's that. A couple of other projects just to note. So we did the cold weather shelter for the second time this year. I guess if we're talking about 2024, we launched it last year, but we have now done that twice. And I think we're learning some things about exactly, how to do that well. But this congregation responded so amazingly and really, really showed up to care for our folks who need a place to go when it is very, very cold outside. And then the women's Bible study continues to be just such a delight to do on Thursdays, and we have grown that. More often than not now, we have close to 30 women who come every single time on Thursdays at noon. I told my friends that one time at a clergy group, and they were like, "Did you say 30, like during the week?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess that's a lot for a midweek Bible study at a church that is our size." So that's exciting. And then the downtown committee was able to hand off essentially leadership to Tobin Bortner and Matt and Alyssa and Summer Gibbons, and they have just taken that and run with it and organized it in some ways that I did not have the time or the creativity to do. And so that feels good to have worked with Don McCall on getting that kind of going, and then to be able to hand it off to where yesterday really ran. The dynamic duo of Tobin as part of the leadership of Downtown Committee and Lisa Bortner as the head of part of the head of the Mardi Gras Committee. Matt and I could have stayed home, but then we would have missed the fun, and so that would not have been good. Anyway, it is a remarkable time to be with you all, and I love you very, very much.
Faithful and innovative ministry is a journey, and at so many of these annual meetings over the last number of years, we talked about preparing for introducing a curate. What would the possibility be? What would the cost and the investment look like? Then how would this work? And the reality that we might not even get a curate. And now Mother Amy, this is the second annual meeting she's been part of. So it is really a wonderful thing to see. And so then there's a natural question, is what happens with Mother Amy next? So the curate grant that we receive from the diocese that pays half of Mother Amy's package, that's a 2-year grant. And so at the end of those 2 years, a number of things can happen. A church is then at a financial point where they could absorb the other half and give that person a promotion because they're no longer a curate, a brand new priest, but an associate rector. A second option is that the church is not able to do that, or the person feels deeply called to do something else to serve as a rector, and so they begin their own process. It is no surprise to me. One of the first questions I had for Mother Amy when I got back was, "How are you feeling called after this 4 months at the helm?" And she said, I'm ready to be a rector." And so she has a deep sense of call, and she certainly has the gifting to be an incredible rector. And so she has entered her own season of discernment with churches that are looking for rectors in this area and in the diocese. And so that call process will just begin and continue to unfold. She could be here through the end of June. If there's a church that she feels called to and a church that feels called to her, then the farewell could be a bit sooner than that. So we'll just kind of keep you updated as things develop. And we will send her off in the best way possible and wish her well, and know that the relationship we have, we are bound together, and she will always have a place to call home here at Calvary. Which then leads to the next question. When Mother Amy got here, our ASA was in like 160 or so, and which was more than one priest, and now it's 220. And so what happens when Mother Amy leaves? So there are 3 options for us. The first is that we could receive another curate on July 1st of this year. We have already submitted our packet to the diocese. The vestry has approved that. We've made provision for that in the budget. However, because the diocese funds half of it, Bishop Doyle appoints curates. So we're not guaranteed to find a right fit, or even if we do, to receive a curate. So the second option would be to hire a part-time priest at the level that we can afford and still be within the canonical requirements in the canons. That would be the second part, is to hire a part-time priest. The third, if that's not able to work out, would be to increase our lay staff with the funding for a clergy person. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We can pray. I'd invite you to pray for Mother Amy. I remember being in her place, and you can't quite stay, even though things have been good. You're not sure what's quite next in the timing. Pray for her and the church God is calling her to. Pray for us. Pray for the curate candidates. Pray for the bishop, and we will see what unfolds. This is just part of the work of faith and ministry. I want to invite Kate Hurst to come up and share about a stewardship update. Kate is the chair of the Stewardship Committee.
So, Matt, what was the line about don't pray for the gifts and talents and, that deal? Y'all remember, you heard it. That, I have to say, I'm a prime example of that because much like Amy, finances, all of that has never been my strong suit. But being called to that, we have such good news to report. We have, for our 2025 campaign, they were 10% higher than they were in 2024, and we went from $390,000 in pledges to over $431,000 in pledges. That is a miracle. We had 118 responses to, I think, 146 letters that were sent out, and that's up from 103 responses in the previous year. I just want to say personally, I'm so grateful that we as a community are so generous and so responsive to this, because so much of what we do here at Calvary, just like any other entity that exists, requires some financing. And we want your talents, but we also need your dollars, and this is how it comes about. For a variety of reasons, the pledges that were made in 2024 didn't come in quite as we had hoped, but we did okay. But we're very, very positive that this year we're going to not only have those $431,000 pledged, we're going to receive $430,000 in actual funds submitted. If you're not sure about how to do that, you can. If you're new to Calvary and you're not used to pledging, I came in from a church experience where that was not a part of it, so I had to kind of learn about it. Please reach out to me, to Mother Amy, Father Matt, a number of people, and we can kind of help you understand that. We're planning already for the 2026 stewardship campaign, and we're looking for new ways to share some of that information with you. About the process and also about the traditions of pledging, and we're trying to get creative. But if you have ideas or thoughts, please reach out again to me or Mother Amy or Father Matt and share your thoughts. Along those lines, we are like every other ministry goal, is tied to our larger goals, and one of them is to increase membership on our stewardship committee. We would like to have a system set up where people could come on, serve no more than 3 years, and then step back and have a nice constant refreshment of that group. So if you have any interest at all, please reach out to me. In addition to our stewardship specific, the commitment cards and the pledging season, we also are under guidance from the vestry to raise $2,500 each year in funds, or at least this coming year. And if you've been here for a while, for the last 2 years we've done Art Fest as our major fundraiser, and that's been extremely successful. We're very pleased with that. But I'm more pleased because out of this we have now a subcommittee that voluntarily put itself together to plan and bring this about in the year to come. And it's if you've never been to Art Fest or you've never thought about being on it, let me just encourage you to join in. It's a lot of fun. It's not a huge amount of work, except right at the very end you get real busy. But you can volunteer for the upfront stuff. You don't have to be quite so busy. We're doing some changes in terms of the time of year that it occurs. We're throwing around ideas about what the focus could be, or who we want to encourage to participate. I will say I was so pleased this year. First year we had 36 artists, and of that 36, I think there were 5 that were artists outside of the Calvary community of parishioners. This last year we had 67 artists, I believe, and over half of them were not Calvary members. that came in and helped with that. And I think that is really huge. Let's see, what else did I want to share about that? If you are interested in Art Fest or learning more about it, there are a number of people you can connect with and just chat with them. That includes Tobin Bortner, who was incredibly helpful with it, Sherry De Leon, Maribel Mast, Annie Gonzalez, Jamie McDonald, who helps with everything that we do, Carol Mosley, or Charlotte Pace, just to name a few. There's a lot of fun to be had in this, and I just hope that you will consider being a part of it. We will have our next meeting on February the 11th, so especially between now and then, if you've got thoughts about either the stewardship process or Art Fest, please, connect with me. You can do it through email. My email address is up there, or just grab me, and that would be great. Thanks.
Up next, I'd like to introduce our treasurer, Peter Jurisic, to give a finance update. And I want to thank him for all of his work. Peter has a full-time job, and being the treasurer of a church growing like ours is kind of a second full-time job. Peter?
Thank you. I'm going to talk about some financial highlights of what happened in 2024. Let me see where we are real quick. Okay, perfect. There is an element of good news, being that Matt shared the average Sunday attendance numbers earlier, means that Calvary is growing and the community of Bastrop overall is growing. But as we learned in 2024, we had a few contingencies in that we didn't quite meet the pledge numbers that we were expecting, so it created a shortfall of somewhere north of $30,000. Some people were having difficulty with financial challenges. It's no great secret that we've been in a pretty inflationary environment for the past several years, and it does affect our parishioners along with everybody else. And also, like, some of our costs have been higher than anticipated. Most notably, we had a personnel change back in the spring of 2024, and we got our new office administrator and communications manager, which were needed, and office expenses and our property insurance increased in the year 2024 that wasn't budgeted for. A lot of claims were paid out, and a lot of churches had this increase because of the increased nature of the catastrophic weather events that have been happening of late. So overall, that $30,000 in shortfall on pledge collections plus the higher expenses contributed to our deficit of $58,000. We'll go into capital expenditure and reserve fund outlays. So capital expenditures means you're either paying for assets or you're improving assets which we have already. We had Heritage Hall and Bell Tower roof repairs that were covered by our church insurance, and Dan Chamberlain did a wonderful job of coordinating all those projects, so thank you for your service. And then there was some outlays that we paid for ourselves in the beginning of the year. The two major ones were the new parish hall doors, which are very, very easier to open and close. So thank you, and our new sanctuary AV equipment that helps make the worship more impactful and our worship overall. We did have to draw from our reserve funds. in 2023, when we had our asbestos abatement and sanctuary repairs project, we took out a loan. We retired that loan in 2024, and it was $80,000, and we also used $51,000 from the reserves to fund our operations that came from the shortfall that we had. We'll go into some more details about the contributions. Okay, so we discussed the pledge giving falling a little short. The best performing categories were in non-pledge giving and plate collection, which is a testament to a growing church. As newcomers come and find Calvary a place to call home, we hope that that translates into pledges that'll help continue to fund our ministries and our worship and our service to the broader community. So a little bit of good potential news in the growth, but we also have growing expenses. Getting ahead of myself. We do have other streams of revenue that we use. We do get rental payments from the mercantile organization and reimbursements from the school, so that amounted to $98,300, and we also received interest from our reserve fund, just under $10,000. We were looking to get a little bit more, but with the withdrawals that we had to make to fund operations and pay down the loan, we received a little less than we were expecting. But overall, we're still in pretty healthy financial shape. All right. Taking a look at our expenses, the highest increases again were in the property insurance, which would fall under the operations category, which includes office expense, R&M, and utilities. And we also had an increase of employee expense. A lot of the other expenses look to be in budget, but those were ultimately our biggest ones. And when you do the math, accounting for revenues and subtracting expenses is how we arrived at our deficit of $58,000, which is about five and a half times what we were anticipating. There was a little bit of a deficit baked in when the finance committee was drawing up the 2024 budget. But with the unforeseen drop in pledges and unforeseen expenses, it caused it to be higher. We did address this for 2025. In 2025, we decided to commit to a balanced budget that wouldn't allow for a deficit in our planning. We expect overall contributions to be $497, which includes our pledges and our non-pledge giving and other giving that we receive, along with other revenues, $583,964 and $583,797 going out in expense. And we also wanted to say that when Mother Amy transfers and receives her calling, the latter part of the year for a curate is budgeted for. Lastly, for 2025, now this part about prior year payroll taxes isn't meant to scare anybody. It's just a full disclosure that I would like to talk to you about. In March last year, we received some notices from the IRS deal with prior year payroll taxes going back to the years 2014 and going through 2019. And the underlying issues were caused by errors in paying the deposits for tax and some of the quarterly filings that we do. It wasn't intentional at all. It was just clerical error on the part of the predecessor treasurer. So what we did in response is we paid about $6,300 in actual tax liability. The remainder of that $32,500 is for penalty and interest. We're working with a service called the Taxpayer Advocate Center, which is an agency independent of the IRS, but the individuals that work for this organization have experience working with the IRS, typically as enrolled agents or revenue agents. We did get part of the penalties abated already. We had $7,500 so far in abatement. As we completed our applications for abatement for the individual issues, they're still in review with the IRS, and it'll depend on when they get to it and what their judgment is on any future abatements. But there's a good news to this too, because we also worked with an outside service a little bit ago to claim employee retention credits, or ERCs, for 6 quarters within the years 2020 and 2021. We had so far had one of the 5 of them approved in the amount of $7,500. So that much of that was credited toward what the IRS is assessing we owe for the $32,500 that we accrued by clerical error. And the remaining ones that are still pending their review amount to about $43,000. So it looks like in the worst case scenario, if we don't get any other abatements, the ERC, if they're approved, will take care of the balance. But it's our hope that we do get as much abatement as we can, and hopefully the IRS will be diligent in approving the other ones. But this is the IRS, so they're not going to be very timely. And in my conclusion, I'd just like to say it's a pleasure to serve Calvary Episcopal Church. I've been in this treasurer role since September of 2023. Father Matt and Mother Amy are very great priests, and they help me. They help remind me of the reason why I chose this ministry, and all the people are great. Calvary Episcopal Church is very generous and very welcoming and inviting. So thank you all for your generosity and for your time.
Thank you so much, Peter. One thing that we did change structurally is starting on January 1st of this year, our church has a payroll service that does our payroll. That was done previously by our part-time bookkeeper. The great thing about those companies is they assume liability for errors like this, and they work very hard to make sure that everything is paid on time. So that is another change that we are making. Next up is Dan Chamberlain, our junior warden, who oversees all of our property and facilities, to share some of the investments we've made over time in our facilities, and some that we need to make here in the not too distant future. Dan?
Thank you. Well, that's a hard act to follow, Peter. Because I got to talk about spending more money, right? So anyway, when I took this position, I asked Don McCall, he says, I'll only take this job if you'll help me.
and thank God he said he would. So what you see on the screen, I believe, are some of the projects that Don managed, and it's unbelievable what he's done. But as you can see from the parish hall, does everybody understand that we own the Mercantile and the Heritage Hall, and that's and Parish Hall, that's all part of our property, and we have to maintain it? Any questions about that? All right. So anyway, we decided we were going to try and sell those buildings, so getting those buildings ready for sale was a significant endeavor. We also had a flood in Parish Hall, had some pipes break, and flooded the kitchen in Parish Hall, and so that was a significant project, as you can see. We had a Gethsemane water issue, again, because there was no proper drainage of water running down the street, and so it ran down Alley A into Gethsemane Hall. So that had to be taken care of, and Don did a great job of building a barrier in front of Gethsemane Hall. Parish Hall roof repairs, I wasn't involved with that, I heard about it. Don says keep an eye on the roof, it might leak again. I said, oh, thank you. The Merck renovation, I don't know all the details about that, but you can see we spent a fair amount of money doing that. And then the preparation for the sale and fire compliance, things of that nature. Now down to things that I had something to do with, which is the sanctuary asbestos abatement project. I'm sure y'all appreciate this beautiful sanctuary, and it was amazing how we were able to pull that off for the amount of money we spent. The Bell Tower roof project, Parish Hall replacement, the doors. So all that is, and when I looked at all this, I said, God, dog, that's a lot of stuff that we've done in a short period of time, when you think about it. And when you look at the net investment that Calvary's made, over $220,000, that money came from y'all. That's huge, and you should be very, very pleased. And as Peter reported, we had to draw from our reserves to do some of that, right? So are there any questions about these projects? It's all good stuff, right? Stuff that had to be done, right? Okay. So looking forward, the projects we've identified, sanctuary masonry renovation project, that basically has to do with there's some gorbles and there's some masonry work around the window ledges and the things that are just deteriorating. There's some things around the foundation. And I've had one particular contractor look at this and he's kind of shaking his head like, oh my God, you know, because it's the kind of work that's not typical masonry work, like laying bricks or building a wall, something like that. It's patchwork, right? So we have an estimate that's at $40,000. I've gone out for bids. So far, I haven't gotten a written bid for what that's going to take. But we're trying to keep it in the $40,000, $50,000 range and try to make all the corbels consistent and uniform and attractive, right? That will be part of the goals of that project and the window ledges. So this other project has to do with the windows. Actually, Penny brought this to my attention. Thank you, Penny. When she was working on the landscaping, she said, Dan, you realize that the window trim is falling apart? I go, no, I didn't realize that at all. And so she pointed that out to me. And not only the trim, so we have stained glass, beautiful stained glass, and then in front of the stained glass, you have plexiglass. And that plexiglass has been in place for 20 years, right? And the trim that holds the plexiglass in is rotting. And when that rots, then the plexiglass falls out, and then so we got to fix that. In addition to that, there's some trim next to the windows that is rotten to the point where you can actually pluck it and pull it off, right? It's bad. So that needs to be fixed, right? What we don't know is if that water has seeped beyond the plexiglass barrier into the wooden windows that hold the stained glass. And if that occurs, we don't want to talk about that. So we want to fix that before that happens, right? And then we have a grounds improvement project. I threw a number out there, and Matt looked at that and said, we can do better. And he talked to Penny, and Penny says, I can make it work for a lot less money. And so they have a project in mind to do that. So, and then we have this contingency. So that's kind of what we're looking at. So we've kind of looking at a $60,000 price tag to try and get that done this year. And yeah, I feel good about this. There may be other things that come up, but that's kind of where we are right now. And I want to thank my team, which consists of Don McCall, my assistant junior warden, Carrie Martin, because she puts up with me. God bless her. We have Gene Powell, who's our plumber. Penny and Carolyn are doing landscaping. And Chip is an electrician that's done a lot of work around the sanctuary, and also Matt Gibbons. So we got a team of people that does it, and I thank them all for their help. That's
Thank
what
you
I
so
got.
much, Dan. Like Peter, Dan does an awful lot of work here. So, okay.
I have a question about the asbestos, that big number for the asbestos and stuff. There was no insurance that helped on, that was like $100,000 for this.
Oh, that's insurance, that's slide, yes, yours.
They didn't help on, the insurance was for the roof and what,
If you go back to this previous slide. Yeah, well,
You're good.
they certainly did.
No.
Not my, no, I'm sorry, they did not. They did not. No. No.
I mean, we did talk with them.
We did talk with them, as far as I know. I mean, a claim was filed, and I don't know the reason for that. It was determined, I'm not sure what the result was, but.
the insurance declined to help us, it was attempted to.
Yeah, yeah.
We did, and it was not coverable because of the way that, you know. Yes, yeah, oh, yes, yeah. So I do want to connect a couple of financial dots. So we've spent over the last couple of years, $223,000 on capital investments over the last 3 years. During that time, we have asked for, kind of done a special campaign once, and that was for the asbestos project. And so what that means is we were spending down our reserves to do this. Later on, you'll hear that one of the things we did to help build our endowment was the vestry seeded that with $150,000. So between the $223,000 and the $100 for capital improvements and the $150 for the endowment funding, that's almost $400,000 that we've spent down from reserves. We currently have less than 3 months of operating reserves in reserve, which is less than we want. And so that's one of the real challenges. So when we see this slide, what this means is there's no magic pot we can go to. And so that's going to influence some of the ways that we get to move forward and some of the invitations that we'll have for the community as we move forward. Now I want to introduce Alex McCown, our parish administrator and my executive assistant. She's going to take us from thinking about a 150-year-old building to Realm, this online way that we can stay connected.
For those of you who haven't experienced me, this is it. Yeah. For those of you who have experienced me, I apologize. I understand that y'all have heard about Realm before. And if the rumors are correct, this is your 3rd year hearing about it. So third time's the charm, and also me. We have actually been doing a slow rollout, primarily when people are calling and asking about how to edit their gifts. I will send them a link to register for Realm. And this is something that we'll be doing throughout the year, really trying to get everybody on Realm, because it is another way to connect with the community. For people who aren't able to come in and come to all of the events, it's a good way for them to keep in contact additionally. So when you first log in, you're going to see this right here, at least right now, until we have our next event. That first page is a whole list of events that are going on here at the church and with the community. And then what's going to happen next is you're going to see this over here. And this one I highlight because the directory. I know that the past year you have not had the directory that you deserve, that you should have to be able to keep in contact with your fellow congregants. When you click on the directory, you're actually going to see names coming down. I did block out your information just in case. And then when you You'll be able to manage that. Maybe you don't want people to see your home phone number, only your cell phone, or vice versa. You'll be able to manage that. But you'll also be able to manage your giving. Like, for example, on Thursday, I had one of our congregants come in and wanted to adjust the giving. And it's something that is actually fairly easy to do. I am very happy to share all of my knowledge on this with everyone as we roll it out and as we move forward with it. But this will be an additional way for you to keep in touch with each other and see what's going on.
Thank you.
Yeah, any questions? Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. And we will be rolling out Realm more fully this year, so you'll get emails and all kinds of good things. Okay, so we've talked a lot about what we've done. This is now the hinge point where we start to focus on what is to come. Last Saturday, the vestry and Mother Amy and me gathered for a vestry retreat to begin thinking about a new vision. For the last 3 years, Vision 2025 has guided us, and we've all been aligned. And now it's 2025, we're all kind of like, well, what do we do now? So this is very high level, at the highest possible level. There's a lot of work to do to break this down into annual goals and quarterly rocks that need to be done. But by 2030, so 5 years away, we see Calvary Episcopal Church as, and these are pillars, and we'll get to that in a minute, a vibrant community and beautiful campus, inspired and equipped, built to serve, financially free, including the excluded, and inviting all to experience God's love. So this is a draft, kind of gives us some very high-level direction. We did a number of exercises that were led by our own DJ Leverton, who facilitates human-centered design. You can see one of our big sheets and the dot voting and all that. So these were the draft pillars. And again, this isn't final language, and we will continue to work on this and get clarity. But these are the 5 pillars. It's a 5-year vision, so 5 pillars seems to really be good. So part of what this envisions, by 2030, we envision there will be a different building here, not a worship building. The sanctuary will be here, but that we will have built some kind of facility on our campus, probably gotten rid of the buildings next to us, the legacy facilities, if you will, and that's a big piece. We will continue to serve our community and do that through programs and partnerships. We will create worship services that inspire and nurture all, including our children and youth. We will include the excluded and respect the dignity of every human being, as our baptismal covenant calls us, and we will develop leaders and equip all of our parishioners to discern and use their gifts in appropriate ways. So that just gives you a sense of where we're headed. There'll be more about that. There'll be annual goals and quarterly activities and rocks that get tracked. That's where we're headed in the next 5 years. Our school, one of our primary outreach ministries, is headed down Highway 304, and so we're going to bring up Catherine Bohat, the head of the school, to share their annual update. It's a very exciting, it has been an exciting year. There's more excitement to come. Big button advances that.
Good morning. I can't come in here and not say good morning because I do it 3 days a week with the kids. So a little bit about me. For those of you who don't know me, there's some new faces in here. I currently am in the life of a pre-select soccer player and a pre-club volleyball player, so the weekends are sports. So I hope to see y'all's faces more as we advance through that program and are not in Austin playing sports all the time. So my name is Catherine Bohat. I have the privilege of being the head of Calvary Episcopal School. This is my 7th year at the helm of Calvary. Prior to Calvary, I graduated from Episcopal High School in Houston. It's a diocesan school. Texas A&M, Lamar University, got my master's there, and taught in public schools and was an administrator in public schools prior to coming over here. So at Calvary, we are very grounded in our mission, and that is that we foster the development of the whole child in a Christian environment, modeling respect for others and encouraging a love of learning in a sense of joy and wonder through all God's works. That is the core of what we do. It is posted in every single classroom. Is it not on there?
Yeah.
My bad, sorry. So it is the core of who we are. Our kids start chapel in here 4 mornings a week. We are constantly talking about God and God's love for us in being who we were meant to be through God's works. So we currently serve 146 students. That is more than we have ever had before here. Of those students, 38% of them are minority students, and 28% of our student body is on needs-based tuition assistance. We actually budget $110,000 a year to give away to students who would not be able to afford Calvary otherwise. So one of the core principles of Episcopal education is service learning. So each year, we participate in all kinds of different service learning projects. The younger grades, that is classroom-driven, the teachers help select them. The older grades, the kids actually pick what they do. So we dedicate time every week where the kids will work on learning about different nonprofits and how they can advocate for them either through raising funds or raising awareness about their different missions. For instance, our 7th graders this year put together an entire plan. They did a bake sale and raised $1,700, and they were able to purchase items for the homeless community in Bastrop. And some of the little colorful bags that you see in the parish hall right now that a lot of members of the community come in and get actually came through the kids. Oh, and last year, how many boxes did we ship to Belize? We did a huge school supply drive for Matt to take to Belize on his sabbatical. So, okay, finances. My phone, I'm getting old, I can't see. So we did end our last school year. Our fiscal year is a little bit different than the church. So where it resets in January here, we start with the school year. So our fiscal year ends June 30th, so you always see like a bridge. But we were able to end last year with a little bit of a surplus, just due to more giving than we expected to happen. We did add a new core content staff position to our middle school. We added a middle school last year, well, 2 years ago, and then we added 8th grade last year, and so now we serve all the way through 8th grade, so we had to add a staff member. And then we also added 2 part-time elective teachers so that we could have coding and newspaper added to our program. Okay, this is the big part. This is what everybody's asking me, when are y'all leaving? So we currently inhabit the legacy facilities that Matt mentioned. So for those of you who don't know, we have our pre-K through 3rd grade students on this campus. We call this main campus. And so the building where the nursery is houses 2 grades, and then that building beyond it with the metal siding, we call that the annex. That houses 3 classes, and then we have our modular building kind of down the way, which houses another 2 classes, and then we currently lease a satellite campus. We get on a bus and go a mile down the road for our 4th through 8th graders. And so in 2019, we were approached by a family that wanted to make a gift of land. And all the reasons were there to not do it. This is going to be too hard. You got to raise all this money. The diocese isn't going to let you, all the reasons. And we did it anyway. So we started master planning, and then a pandemic happened. But we kept going, and we kept going, and we kept going. And I am over the moon and so excited to share that we are nearing our goal of $9 million for phase 1 of this campus. To date, we've raised almost $8.6 million. And that just shows you how much the community loves this school. I mean, it is, I could go on and on. I'm on the timer. He told me I had 5 minutes. But it is one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm a parent here. I work here. It's done great things for my family and so many other families and so many kids. So we are very, very excited to be able to move to this next step. Through this process, I have a master's degree in education, not finance, but I did learn a lot about finance. And so we have invested this money and have made over $200,000 in interest just as the construction process is happening. So we invested the money, and we're just continuing to watch it. And as we need to pull, we pull and move things around. We'll go to our construction update, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this photo because it was an amazing day. They poured half of our slab about a week and a half ago. The other half is going in on Wednesday. And then from there, steel gets ordered, and they start building a building. So one thing, it did decide to start raining in Texas once we decided to build a school. So there have been some delays, but we also need the rain, so I'm not complaining. But we are scheduled to move in or get keys to occupy the space in the fall of 2025. So at some point during that time, depending on weather delays, but you guys should be rid of us in January, I think, which means we get to have one more Christmas program in here, which is a huge gift. This last year, we had to split the school between 2 programs because it's just so many kids, and there was not a place to be in this building. There were so many human beings in here. It was wild. It was so full. So on November 15th, this photo was taken, and typically, when you have a groundbreaking photo, there's like 5 people. And what's so special about this photo is we were able to bring in the family that donated the land, the board that started this by making the decision, because it's taken us so long. We had one board and then it moved to another board, as well as some of our founders for the school. They're here today. Thank you, guys. And it was a beautiful day. Bishop Ryan came, the kids sang. It was magical. So to sum it up, great things are happening at Calvary Episcopal School. We are very, very excited to move. We are also a little sad to leave, but Matt will be dropping a kid off there every day, so we'll see him. But yeah, does anybody have any school questions? No? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. It is indeed very exciting. I'd like to invite Sarah Clayton, the head of the Bell Tower Legacy Fund, to give an update on that. I'm just trying to get to the right slide here. There we go. All right.
The big one. I'm so used to like looking at it. She's right. I think I have to go back one. Yeah, that's one. My name is Sarah Clayton, and I'm the chair of the Bell Tower Legacy Fund. I work with the committee that was appointed by the vestry, and that committee consists of Joe Beal, Cheryl Green, and Charlie Ann King. I'm here to give you an update on the Bell Tower Legacy Fund, its financial health impact, and then what we have in store for 2025. First of all, what is the Bell Tower Legacy Fund? It's an endowment, which is different from regular church funds because the principal stays intact while the income is used. The Legacy Fund aligns with Calvary's longtime vision, and it funds initiatives in music and worship, spiritual formation, community outreach, building improvements, and debt reduction. The fund is growing steadily, ensuring financial stability with 2 years of grant disbursements under our belt. Proper investment strategies, even with low risk tolerance and generous parishioner donations, have helped expand that fund. BTLF works, I guess the easiest way I can explain this is through a tree analogy. For those of you who understand finance, you totally get it. Those of you who don't. The principal, or what they call a corpus, is never spent. Instead, only 3 to 5% of the income is used per year in a mathematical formulation for grants. This ensures that the fund can provide support for generations to come or in perpetuity. In 2024, we funded 2 grants. One was for the children's ministry with Works with the Realm program. We provided hardware for the nursery, Godly Play, and the Story Makers. We also funded a music ministry with additional garments to accommodate more petite frames and to replace some tattered robes. Both grants allow for the expansion and improvement in the services they provide. I encourage ministry leaders to be thinking forward into 2025 as we hope to come out with the spring grant program. Details coming soon. There are all sorts of ways to give and to grow the fund. A lot of asking for money going on around here. Just know, though, that gifts of any size or any shape or any kind are welcome. And I encourage legacy giving to sustain Calvary's future for generations to come. And at this point, I want to express a huge thank you to members of what we're calling the Bell Tower Legacy Society. And these are parishioners who had the faith and the courage to support us as we began this task with donations or pledges. If you have, I can't even thank these people enough. I don't even know what to say, and I can't read it because I don't have the screen in front of me. Anyway, but I encourage you to visit Calvary's website. Under the Giving tab, there's a section for the Bell Tower Legacy Fund. You can donate there. You can keep track of what we're doing in there. If you ever want to keep in mind, we've also, thanks to Diana, come out with a new bookmark, which has information how to contact the Legacy Fund on the back. Also, in Realm, there's the directory, so if anybody would like to contact any member of the committee, their information should be in that directory. But once again, I want to say together we're building a lasting legacy for Calvary, and I want to thank you very much for your generosity and your support.
All right, friends, we are almost there. We have a couple things left to do, and these are more fun. The first is recognitions and celebrations. I would like to invite, so we have three vestry members who are rolling off or completing their 3 years of service. Jackie Avent, who let us know this morning she is sick and can't be with us in person, so we will still celebrate her. Randy Fritz and Mary Robson. So Randy, I'm not sure I see Randy, but Mary, if you can make your way down here. And what we do is we present our outgoing vestry members with a leadership award that has our logo on it, and each one is personalized. So I'll read Jackie's and Randy's. Calvary Leadership Award presented to Jackie Avent for embodying God's heart for the marginalized and service to others. Thank you for your heart. And Randy's, we'll do Randy's, and Mary, we're coming to you. Randy says, Calvary Leadership Award presented to Randy Fritz for developing processes, focusing on details, asking questions, and sharing your insights. Thank you for your dedication. Randy not only served as on the vestry, but as the chair of our finance committee for 3 years as well, helping us rebuild that coming out of the pandemic. All right, Mary, come on down. Well, not far. Why don't you stand right here, and that can be a support. So, Mary, I want to present this to you for your vestry service, the Calvary Leadership Award presented to Mary Robson for your steady leadership, a lifelong faithfulness in God and the church, an unshakable hope and patient endurance. Thank you for your faithfulness. Mary served as a vestry member from 2022 to 2025 for 3 years, and most importantly, as our senior warden, the head lay leader in the church for the last 2 years. And for that, we give you great thanks. So this is the first part. Now, I always get a special gift for the senior wardens because, Lord, they do a whole lot. And so Mary and I share a love of baseball. And baseball is a game of endurance. There's no 16 games like in football. Every year they play 162 baseball games, and you have endured like an all-star. A long season of service, 2 years. You've been faithful and provided such stable leadership and support, especially during the sabbatical. If you were a baseball player, you would win the MVP award. So while I was on my sabbatical, I went to Cooperstown, New York, to visit the Baseball Hall of Fame, and they have a thing there, a place there called the Cooperstown Bat Company, and they make special baseball bats. And so, Mary, I'm super thrilled to present you with this special baseball bat that has our logo on it. It says Mary Robson, Senior Warden, 2023 to 2025, Calvary Episcopal Church. Because you are our indicator. I love you, Mary. You're good. You're good. Thank you so much, Mary. Okay, our next award, I want to recognize a couple of lay leaders who have finished their roles of service. Holly Fritz, who served on the traction team, Barbara Albright and Christine Huber, who served on the Merck board, and Robin Powell, who served as the president of the Daughters of the King. Finally, the last thing that we do before we swear in our new vestry members is when I got here, we created the Rector's Prayer Book Award. And every year I choose a lay leader who's not currently on the vestry, who embodies the leadership and culture and values of our church in special ways. And so this year I want to invite and celebrate Kate Hurst. Please come forward. Surprise, Kate. So Kate has been a member of Calvary for a number of years. We're going back to 2010. Is that right? Okay. She, during that time, has sung in the choir. She joined the stewardship committee as we came out of the pandemic and oversaw the first kind of special fundraiser we did, the raffle fundraiser. We had a church picnic and raffle right outside, and Kate oversaw that and did a great job. Then she apprenticed under Charlotte Pace, who was the chair of the committee for a full year. And then Charlotte turned over the keys and all the power to Kate. And Kate has led our most successful stewardship campaign this past fall while I was on sabbatical, which is a testament to her heart and her leadership. In addition to all of that, since she retired a year ago, Kate also volunteers in the church office once a week and helps us do all kinds of projects. Without you in the office, we would be lost. When we initially invited her to serve on the vestry a year ago, she prayed and discerned and came back and said she had just retired or was just about to, and she said, I'd really like a year to let the dust settle, which is faithful discernment, right? No or not yet is faithful discernment. However, we are very glad that in just a moment she's going to be sworn into the vestry, which is why we needed to get this award to her today. So here, Kate, is your prayer book hymnal. We're going to get it engraved with your name on it, but congratulations. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you. Enjoy the service. Thank you. All right. And Kate, if you'll stay up here, I'd like to invite all of our vestry members, the new ones and everybody else to come down, and we will commission our vestry members and finish up our work today. Vestry members, come on down. While they're coming down, I'd like to, you all have met Alex, who is new to the staff. Diana, if you'll stand up and just wave. This is Diana Small, our communication manager, and we're so glad that you're here today. Everybody come on down. All right, folks are making their way. Okay, let's get our new folks. Advance the slide. Here we got Kate, Eddie, great, Dina. Come on down, Mo. Mo, come on down. Come on over, Mary. Okay, let's make sure everybody gets one of these. All right, so our new vestry members we're going to commission are Kate Hurst, Eddie Mendoza, and Dina Thomas. I've chosen to appoint Maria Tuttrup to serve as the senior warden. Maria, why don't you come stand with them? And yes, give Maria a round of applause. And I will have you all introduce yourselves, the new vestry members. Maria, why don't you start, and then we'll have you all introduce yourselves.
So I'm Maria Tuttrup. I have been a member of the vestry for 3.5 years. So I'll be finishing my last year as the senior warden, and looking forward to it, and hoping that we can continue to grow.
Thank you, Maria. Maria stepped into an unexpired term. That's why she's gotten to serve so long. This is Mo Tanner, who's on the vestry. Our 3 new members. You guys introduce yourselves.
Eddie Mendoza, and I've been a member here in the church for 4 years. I'm a lay reader, and also do the LAM. And I'm looking forward to serving now that I'm retired again. So that's it.
Welcome, Eddie. Eddie's also very involved in prison ministry in Mexico in significant ways. Dina?
Hi, I'm Dina Thomas. I've been a member here with Calvary since 2014 and served on the school board for 6 years. Took a break from being a scribe for the vestry a number of years ago, and I'm very happy and privileged to serve here with all of us.
Wonderful.
I'm Kate Hurst, and I've been a member here at Calvary since 2010, and one of the things that I'm looking forward to Bastrop was a place to call home.
All right. Wonderful. Welcome, Kate. Thank you. All right. For the existing vestry members, that'd be Maria and Mo and Peter and Mary. You all will act as presenters for our 3 new vestry members and the appointment of Maria. And your part's in bold. And then the new vestry members, your part's in bold as well. Brothers, sisters, siblings in Jesus Christ, we are all baptized by the one Spirit into the one body. You're looking for vestry commissioning at the top, in bold. All right? Good. We are giving gifts for a variety of ministries for the common good. Our purpose is to commission these persons in the name of God and of this congregation to the special ministries of leadership to which they are called. To our existing vestry members, are these persons you are to present prepared by a commitment to Christ as Lord, by regular attendance at worship, and by a knowledge of their duties to exercise their ministry to the honor of God and the well-being of God's church. Friends, you have been called into a ministry of this congregation. Will you, as long as you are engaged in this work, perform it with diligence? I will. Will you faithfully and reverently execute the duties of your ministry to the honor of God and the benefit of the members of this congregation? I will. Do you affirm these words from the Diocese of Texas canons? I am persuaded that the Holy Scriptures contain all doctrine required as necessary for eternal salvation through faith in Jesus Christ. And I accede to the doctrine, discipline, and worship of the Protestant Episcopal Church. I do. Will you, I'm going to ask you a question. I'll invite you to give a hearty we will. Will you do all in your power to support these leaders with your prayers, your honest yet gracious communication with them, and your willingness to help them carry out Christ's ministry in this church? Let us pray. O eternal God, the foundation of all wisdom and the source of all courage, enlighten with your grace the wardens and vestry of this congregation, and so rule their minds and guide their counsels, that in all things they may seek your glory and promote the mission of your church. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of God and this congregation, I commission you, Maria, as the senior warden, and Eddie, Dina, and Kate as new members of the vestry in this parish. Congratulations. You all can be seated. Oh, yes, we do. And there's a ceremonial passing of the keys from one senior warden to the next. You all may be seated. We're almost there. As they find their ways to their seats, we remember those we have loved and lost who are part of our community. Since our last annual meeting, Charlie Lundy, Bill Sleddy, and Jack Rhodes have joined the communion of the saints. We remember them and give thanks for all those, going all the way back to the Higgins family, who have been part of this community and are part of it still. Invite us to stand. Let us close with the doxology. which we sing together as we finish our work, giving thanks for all God has done and will do in our midst. Praise God.